Hello, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Tunnel Vision, a show brought to you by USCFootball.com. I'm your host this evening, Ryan Abraham, joined in studio with Mr. Triple Double himself, Connor Morrissette, half of the Helium boys, half of the Cilantro boys. We got a whole Chris Trevino. He's here in studio, and if you just saw us, it's because we really just did a show 2 minutes ago that ended. We had Gavin Meyer come on, so we did two separate shows tonight. If you're watching the replay, that's fine too. But we're live on YouTube, live on Facebook. But we did do a show with Gavin Meyer. It was a lot of fun. About a half an hour talking with the Wyoming defensive line transfers. You can go check that out on our YouTube channel or over at USCFootball.com. But this is our regular show because we need to do our Sunday night show talking about USC's 48-0 shutout, the first shutout since 2011, if you remember the Matt Barkley days, and shutting out with Lane Kiffin shutting out UCLA 50-0. That was a big one. This is a big one too, to go 2-0 into the bye week, and Michigan coming up. We're going to give Jack the night off because everyone loves Jack. It's great. He's a senior at USC, just turned 21, so he's celebrating with his family. So I'll do the hosting, and then we get to bring in Chris to come in and pinch hit. So. Well, welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on.
Yeah, thanks for having us, as usual. Good to see you, Ryan. Good to see you, Chris. What a win.
You haven't noted, Ryan, that this is our first in-studio tunnel vision of the season, because obviously the last time we did a tunnel vision was in your hotel room
That's
at
true.
the Mandalay Bay. So this is the first in-studio tunnel vision of the season.
First, post-game. We've done a couple pre-games.
Those don't count.
This
is tunnel vision. The others are not tunnel vision. Everyone back me up in the chat. There's only one tunnel vision, and it's post-game Sunday. Come on.
That is true. We had some people asking. So we have moved the times a little bit because we were trying to accommodate getting the players in. Like we had Mason Cobb come on Thursday. Gavin Meyer today came at 6. Are you guys cool with like the 6:30 start? Or you rather have the 7? I don't know. I know some people were complaining because Sunday Night Football was on. I haven't watched much football today. I've been doing shows. I've been in the studio a lot today, so I haven't got to watch very much. I don't know if I'm losing, winning fantasy. I'm in too many fantasy leagues now. I think I've oversaturated myself, so I don't know what to root for because I play against the same guy I have. So I think I got to the point where I have too many fantasy teams that I don't want to watch anything because I'll just find out what happens at the end. I don't know. You play a lot, Chris. I don't know if you're at that point.
I'm in 4 leagues. I'm in losing in 3 of them.
Oh.
And the only one I'm winning is I don't really care. So it's one of those situations. I'm getting creamed in the 24/7 Sports League.
Oh no!
I curse you, Ryan Burns, who is the
he's
publisher
just
of the Minnesota site. So we'll see him. I'll see you, Ryan Burns. I'll see you later this season.
Look at that. We got a play-by-play man. Guy Haberman's in the chat saying 8-10 would be a perfect start. So he wants a later one.
8-10?
I got to see him in the Chris. I don't know if Chris likes that. We got to see him in the press box yesterday. Him and Yogi were on the call for the Big Ten Network, so it's great to see them. Those guys doing well over there.
Yeah, thanks for hopping on, guy. And I get it because that's when Sunday Night Football ends, so you can watch that game and then go right into the tunnel vision. That makes a lot of sense. So I get what Guy's saying there.
We have to get him in studio, coming in and check it out. So he's around a lot now. So, yeah. So, good stuff. So we got to talk about this game. It was pretty crazy. I think I want to get your predictions, Chris, because you put your 5 predictions. I did my 3 keys, which sort of become kind of predictions. Like, here's what they need to do. Like, if they win and they don't hit any of your keys, you're like, well, your keys didn't mean anything. Well, they won, and I wanted to see some pressure on the quarterback. I wanted 4 sacks. They got 3, but 7 tackles for loss, some heavy pressures and things like that. Wanted to see them run the ball better than they did against LSU. Got over 249 yards rushing. So that was a big one. And then the one I called was Jaden Maiava getting a rushing touchdown. I just wanted to put something in like, hey, if Jaden Maiava gets a rushing touchdown, things are going right, and you're probably cruising in this game. And he ended up getting it. I ended up tweeting out like it was 2nd and goal from the 9. And I'm like, I think he's going to get a rushing touchdown here. And the second play, he ended up getting that scramble and won. But so my predictions were recorded on this one. What were yours for this one, and how close?
I feel like you kind of just read mine and then just stole them from there because
Did you do the same?
I also had 4 sacks down
Okay.
for USC. Obviously, they only got 3, so I didn't hit on that one. But I also had Jaden Maiava scoring his first Trojan touchdown, which obviously happened on that great scramble where he kind of looked like Caleb Williams in that fashion. But I hit 3 of my 5, which is pretty good.
That is good, yeah.
And I was in contention to go 5 for 5. They get one more sack. I'm right there. And then I had a 35-yard touchdown for this game. They were definitely trying to get the ball down the field, but Miller and those wide receivers were just a little bit off today or on Saturday, and they just didn't connect on some of those deep shots throughout the game. But all in all, a great bounce back for me after I just went 1 for 5 in the opener.
I didn't make any predictions or anything, but I wanted to see 2 things out of this game, and USC nailed both of them. Avoid a hangover, because we saw Notre Dame lose to, was it Northern Illinois? Oh, my goodness. Crazy.
Some directional nothing, yes.
We saw Penn State not look very good against Bowling Green after a big win against West Virginia. And Utah State, they had their backup quarterback, and they've had all sorts of issues with their head coach and everything. But still, after a big emotional win over LSU, I wanted to not see a letdown, and we certainly didn't see that. And then my other thing, I wanted to see the 2s and the 3s get in. And at the end of the game, Cameron Fountain's making plays. The backup offensive line checks in. Micah Benuelos is playing left tackle all of a sudden. So both boxes checked there for USC. And the D'Anton Lynn era, 2 games in, pretty damn good. What a amazing coordinator he is. And I'm still blown away by the transformation that USC's undergone. I've said it a million times. Did not expect it to happen this quickly. Here we are. They look like a college football playoff team right now. You beat Michigan. Lock it in, I think.
Can we get a damn good D'Anton?
Damn good job, D'Anton.
I feel like back-to-back weeks, there's been a lot of exercising of demons for USC. Just with the first game, neutral site game, SEC, how you were humbled against Alabama several years ago. And then this game, on a lesser note, but this was a quarterback that you played last season in Bryson Barnes and made you guys look silly and really should not have made you guys look silly, and just points to how bad the defense was last season. And then you go in here, comes in here again to the Coliseum, obviously new team, new offense, but you shut him down. He can't do anything. So I'm sure that felt a little redemption for USC fans just to see Bryson Barnes not have a day against USC, not pick up 3rd down after 3rd down and move down the field against this defense. So, yeah.
That was the one thing coming into this that I felt like he did this last year in the Coliseum, and we've seen this defense be kind of bend but don't break. So I felt like they do a pretty good job of containing him, but every once in a while he would sort of bust out and pick up one of those 3rd downs, and it just never happened. And I don't know, it seemed like the game plan was to hit the quick passes stuff. Don't let the pass rush get there. No sacks in the first half. They ended up getting 3 of them in the second half. But I was surprised. I thought we would see more of Barnes just kind of taking off and picking up some plays with his legs. I think there was a 3rd and short that he ran it, and that was successful. But for the most part, that just wasn't there. And like I said, it seemed like the quick passing game is what they were trying to do. I thought they could have a little bit of success, maybe score 10 points or something like that. Definitely didn't expect the shutout, but it didn't look like the same Bryson Barnes that we saw last year. I think the Rainer Troy, their CarCast, they were talking about that maybe it was just Cam Rising. They transferred bodies or something, because it looked like when Barnes was in there, it was still Cam Rising doing all that stuff. But just to see, you watch this team in the same uniforms, like a lot of the same players getting run over, and all those things that were bad things were happening, and none of them are happening anymore. We talked to Gavin Meyer, about the gang tackling and stuff. It's just kind of crazy to see this transformation, but to see a quarterback you saw last year on the same field do all kinds of crazy good things and do none of that, and their team gets under 200 yards total. It's like head scratching to me to see that.
I do think the roster differences between Utah and Utah State play a big role in that. And then I don't know how much Barnes was preparing to be the starter. This week he sure was, it sounded like, with Spencer Petras, their backup, not being able to go. But leading into the season, he didn't win the job. Petras was the starter, whereas last season, I know Kyle Whittingham didn't say it, but pretty much everyone knew how long Rising would be out, And they switch back and forth between Nate Johnson and Barnes. Maybe it's a bad example, but I feel like he was prepared to be the starter against USC on the road, and this year he was kind of flying by the seat of his pants a little bit. But the roster's totally different, and I get your point, Ryan. It has everything to do with Utah State's roster not being as good as Utah, but mainly D'Anton Lynn, Matt Entz, Doug Belk, Eric Henderson. This defense, they're so well coached, and they're way better than I thought. they are like the spread didn't make any sense. If you watch the Utah State Robert Morris game or even the highlights or just read about it, they were losing to freaking Robert Morris at halftime, and then they come to USC and they're only 28.5 point underdogs. Like USC was almost covering the spread at halftime, so I didn't really understand that. I felt like after rewatching that USC LSU game, I felt even better about the team than I did watching it in the press box.
Yeah.
So coming into Utah State, I don't want to say I called my shot because I've had some bad luck calling some shots lately. That was an easier pick just because I thought Utah State looked terrible. USC looked ready to go, well coached. I didn't anticipate a letdown, and it had everything to do with my confidence in Lynn, which was only one game against LSU, but that showed me so much. Like the floor for this team is really high. They're not going to make a lot of mistakes, and they executed against Utah State, and what happened? They shut them out 48-0. I didn't understand that line.
Yeah, it's funny. And then you watch like LSU was tight with Nicholls State, and you're like, maybe USC isn't that good, and they were on a day that a lot of people, a lot of programs stubbed their toes. You know, from Notre Dame losing to Northern Illinois. You know, Oregon needed a last second field goal to
they look in trouble.
Boise State, they didn't look very good. A lot
2
of
weeks
teams,
in a row.
Yeah, a lot of programs didn't look very good, and I think you're not the same program week in and week out. It's different teams. You know, we've seen South Carolina struggled in week 1, and then they go crush Kentucky in week 2. You could see teams get better. You could see teams sort of take steps back. You're not the same all the time, but I think USC's kind of been, like you said, I think the floor is pretty high. I think they can play pretty consistently and stuff. So that's a good sign. Real quick, I forgot to mention at the top, because we're LP Cap says taking phone calls. Normally we do, and I totally didn't get to set it up because our Gavin Meyer interview went all the way until 6:30, so we just had to like kind of roll right into this one. So we'll get back to phone calls next week. Probably no Sunday night tunnel vision next week because there's no game. But we might do one during the week or something, and we can take some phone calls. So we'll kind of figure that out. But Chris, you were down there. Connor and I are in the press box. You're down there in the field. It was a crazy result, just getting a shutout. You haven't had, been 15 years or whatever, something like that. But the lights going out, and then in the fourth quarter, like Lincoln Riley's out there, Jen Cohen, Katie Ryan, who's sports information, all these people talking to officials, like trying to get the game going. Like, what was it like sideline wise? Make sure you go read his ghost notes. But what was it like sideline wise down there in that whole light fiasco and everything?
Pretty confusing to figure out kind of what's going on, because I believe it was I don't know if it was a team timeout or someone took a timeout, but the stoppage was lingering, and then you kind of realize there's more people that are on the field than they should be on the field, including Jen Cohen, and you're seeing Lincoln Riley have the conversation with the referee, and then you can just see the frustration on him because he walks away from the conversation, takes off his hat, like a frustrated coach, and is like, oh, yeah, they might actually be talking about this game being called because, and you still had, 10 minutes left in the fourth quarter, and already the energy down there is weird because USC has this win in hand. You got the backups in. There's a lot of like hanging out on the sideline between some of the starters, just pumping up the guys. You want to get the game over. Fans have already started leaving. A lot of them started leaving after that Jada Maeva touchdown run. So you're kind of in this weird limbo of the game. So it's like, obviously you can't call it if it's like super close, but here we are. But I had to walk over to the other side because I just wanted to see what was going on. Players didn't really know what was going on. Some of them were hanging out. Some of them were like dancing to the music. Guys who were still playing were just trying to stay focused. Jaden Mayaba's warming up on the sideline, trying to stay hot out there because he's going to go back in. And then, boom, lights just come on. Some of the guys were singing that "Shut Up and Dance with Me" song, and my theory is that's what got the lights back on.
Oh.
The Torch was having issues too, right? And then
Well, that might have been a bit.
I think they lied to us.
I think it was a bit.
I got.
Yeah,
I
they were
was
saying
so
like,
tired.
you
That
know,
seems
they were like,
crazy.
the torch isn't going to be lit, but put your phones on. Put your phones on, and then the power of the Trojan fan base lit the torch. It was something like that. Yeah.
I
So
thought it was really the power of the Trojan fan base.
There's some dude up there that he just has to press a button, and that button was secure the whole time. And
Yeah.
they were like, "Let's do this as a joke," and then bam, it's
and
on.
they hit the button, and
Fans were genuinely upset that the torch wasn't going to be lit.
Yeah, a lot of booze.
I know that was definitely a weird one, and we weren't getting any information in the press box. A lot of times they'll feel like, hey, there's a power outage. I got a text from someone that works in the Coliseum. They're like, hey, it's on the north end. So I tweet that out. But I tweeted like it was coming out at halftime, and it's already, 10:15 p.m. I think it was, and they weren't starting the game. And we were watching the clock countdown on the peristyle end, and it was 0. It's like, okay, you should be starting. And the teams weren't even out of the tunnel yet. And I'm like, why is this not starting? Like, we don't want this to be delayed because we're going to be here till 2 a.m. anyway. And then people started tweeting at me, I guess from the broadcast, they had said there was a problem with the lights. And so we could kind of see there was a light problem, but it still looked like the field was lit. But Gavin Meyer talked about it. Well, if you listen to the interview we did with him, there were some, there's missing lights. So there's some long shadows. He said it felt more like a high school game, Friday night lights kind of thing. So yeah, that was weird. But whatever. It was the necessary result. Everything happened the way, if you're a USC on a weird night, it all happened the way you wanted. You weren't hungover from the win over LSU. I mean, LSU looked a little hungover in their game, then they put them away. You got to get all your backups playing time. You're relatively healthy heading into the bye week, and you get to watch Michigan play Arkansas State, and then get 2 weeks to get ready for them. So I don't know if you could have had a much better start to the season than what USC got right now.
And I think that's a great sign moving forward, just that they came out so ready, especially the defense. Obviously the wide receivers and Miller Moss were a little bit up and down, having, Jacoby Lane dropping that wide open touchdown to start the game. Like, he doesn't drop passes like that. So that was a little bit, set a weird little tone for the offense. But just the fact that they came out so focused, so ready to play in this game after an emotional win against LSU, I think that's great for them moving forward into other big games like a Penn State, like a Michigan in 2 weeks. And, they're going to have that extra rest with the bye week. So, there's that balance of, they haven't played football in a week. Are they going to be a little rusty? But you also get the rest. So it's kind of a double-edged sword there. But you feel good about them going to the big house and coming out ready and prepared and focused and coached up. And, Lincoln Riley had some issues with that last season, coming out ready for some of these games they had on their schedule last year. But it seems now, or at least through the first 2 games, that they have a new mindset coming into games, whether it's a big-time opponent or someone they should handle handily.
And it's well documented by Lincoln Riley and the players. They don't listen to the outside noise, but I'm going to talk about the outside noise for a second. Some teams on the schedule coming up. Michigan gets whacked by Texas at home. That game looks a lot different than it did at the beginning of the year. Wisconsin hasn't looked great. Minnesota lost to North Carolina. Penn State has trouble with Bowling Green. Maryland loses to Michigan State. Rutgers didn't look great in that first game where we were watching, Ryan, on a Thursday night, I think, before the season started. Tunnel vision. Washington, totally new. Nebraska looks probably a little bit better than we maybe thought. But that's it. UCLA, I think, stinks. Notre Dame doesn't look as good. Things are coming up for USC. So I hear you say, Ryan, they've started the season about as well as they could, and I totally agree from a USC perspective. But then you look at the schedule, and it's like, wait, 7-5. Who would ever think they'd go 7-5? This is lining up for them here.
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I don't think anyone have predicted that USC goes 7-5 this year. Like, especially if you've watched this team get ready and you've had,
I wasn't the only one.
General knowledge, where everyone on the team and every one of their opponents went to high school. Like, if you had that much knowledge, I think it would be nearly impossible to predict this team go 7-5. That's just my opinion. I don't know. Maybe we can find documentation elsewhere that this proves my theory, but I don't think anyone would just, be able to do that. But the floor has raised.
Oh, yeah.
And we've talked about this a lot, where the way USC was constructed last year, like, there were just overmatched teams that you would look not that good against, but you're going to get the win.
Arizona State looked terrible at the beginning,
Yeah.
and then they outlasted them.
And
now you're kicking the crap out of Arizona State this year.
Yeah,
Last year's Arizona State.
Right, Colorado, take a big lead, let them hang around.
That was an angry instant analysis, Ryan, me and you.
Yeah, that was a bad one. There was a lot of that kind of stuff, but you had better teams, and the lineup week in and week out was going to be, if you sort of play with your food like that every week in the Big Ten, you're going to lose games. Like you could lose on the road at Minnesota or Maryland. Sorry about your terp there. Rutgers at home. I'm just taking shots at you guys. Rutgers at home.
We got to gang up on them.
Yeah.
There was a lot of games that are losable. I mean, we thought Nebraska was going to be better. Penn State could be elite. Michigan could be elite. LSU could be elite. Notre Dame could be elite.
How about USC? USC could be elite.
And we felt like, and that's where your
Sorry to scare you.
that's where your 7-5 like prediction and stuff would come from.
Yeah.
I was on the upper, like I predicted 9-3. I thought that would be, but unless something really bad happens, like it just seems like, 8-4, I thought would be like the median, and that might be the floor now. Like if you have some bad games and you lose some, you can still lose to all these teams, and Notre Dame can play really well, or Penn State, or Nebraska looks good, but I think USC just seems like if they dot all their I's and cross their T's and do what they're supposed to do, like they're gonna win a bunch of these games. I mean, the one at Michigan is a big one. We thought like 1-2 to start the season was like a legit possibility, and you could still even make a run and go to the playoff at this point. I don't know if we were talking 3-0, and that's
It's on the table.
the way Michigan looked against Texas. It's not going to be easy to go into the big house.
Oh, but their quarterback stinks.
I mean, that helps. We'll see what they do this weekend against Arkansas State. It might be better that they get sort of like a get-right game before USC than just coming out of the Texas debacle. But this is a lot more manageable, and like you don't want to get too far ahead of yourself. Lincoln Riley does not want to do that. He mentioned that last night in the press conference. But you're a USC fan. You're like, the teams that are on your schedule that you thought were good, even if Oregon was on the schedule, they don't look as good as they did before. Like Ohio, you don't have to play Ohio State. That's the big one. I think making the college football playoff is something that's within reach. I think, Chris, you tweeted that ESPN has them like as a 41% chance now of
44.
44, up from like 13. You went on the road at Michigan, like that's going to go up even more. And I think before I was like, hey, you could get in the playoff at like 9-3, maybe, maybe you need 10-2, but potential 9-3. Now you're like, this team could make it to the, conference championship game, which I wasn't expecting that before, but I think they have a legit shot the way it's looked for the first 2 weeks and the way everyone else has looked at doing that. I don't think they're going to compete with like Georgia or Ohio State or teams like that, but I think they can go even a little higher than I thought. I don't know if you guys agree.
I totally agree. I don't, to your point, Ryan, Georgia and Texas, I think, are probably a bridge too far this year.
Yeah.
But we're talking about teams that have been building up, and it's just a different ball game a little bit. After that, like, even Ohio State, they looked a little shaky in that first game. So the defense is going to keep them in every game the rest of the way, I think. And it's all about if the offensive line holds up, if some of these receivers avoid getting the drops, which is crazy because you'd think that the offense would have to play really well with Lincoln Riley while the defense gets up to speed. It's sort of been the opposite through 2 weeks, which, again, I didn't expect. And D'Anton Lynn, I called him a wonderkind when I tweeted it at practice the other day. Like, he's 34 years old. Credit to Chip Kelly for hiring him at UCLA in the first place, giving him that platform, and just he's an amazing coach. The way the defense, like, it's so hard to transform, even in the transfer portal, like a defense like that in one offseason. And USC's done it. I said it on Instant Analysis. You know how many teams have tried to do what USC's done and haven't been able to do it? It's not easy. And the biggest thing is Lynn. There's other factors too. He is so key to all of this. And I wonder if they brought in a different defensive coordinator back when Riley was going through that search, what it would look like. They hit a home run with this hire. That's the big takeaway from Utah State and LSU that I have so far. D'Anton Lynn home run hire and the college football playoff. That's a real shot here.
You know what's going to be fun? Wisconsin. When Wisconsin comes to the Coliseum. Tackett Curtis.
Eric Gentry, he might tackle Grinch.
Alex Grinch.
He might do the scene from Remember the Titans. Anyone remember where he makes the tackle on the sideline, and then he might do that to Alex Grinch on the sideline if he gets a bust over there on the sideline.
Which players do you guys think have taken the most sort of subtle shots at the
Gentry.
previous coach?
Not
Gentry.
shuttle.
Not subtle. Not subtle. Not subtle whatsoever.
Jameel, but not subtle. He says it like respectfully. Jameel
Yeah.
Muhammad a little bit. Mason Cobb said he's having fun. Yeah. I think the linebackers have made the biggest strides.
Yeah, and Matt Entz is made a lot of. I think he's made a big difference there.
And is sorry to cut you off, Chris, but say Danton Lynn does take a new job after this year. Entz becomes the defensive coordinator. If he can't get a head coaching job somewhere else, that's a pretty good alternative too.
Is this our segue into Eric Gentry?
You want to do that? We
Yes.
got to talk about.
I think I need to give
The floor is yours.
some
Here,
time to Eric Gentry and just
no Mason Cobb, right? You got Gentry.
no Mason Cobb. He's out with an injury. Not quite sure what it was, but again, this is a game you can afford to be without Mason Cobb because you have three very good veteran linebackers at the top. And yes, Eric Gentry gets the start. And I tweeted about this in the first half, but I'm obviously watching through my camera down there, but it just seemed like every play I was looking at through the viewfinder, Eric Gentry was involved or around the ball. He was either knocking someone around the ball, he was jumping in on the tackle, or he was making the tackle. I felt like he was everywhere on Saturday night until they pulled him out and pulled the starters out. But he was just playing with this kind of different kind of energy, and he's a very energetic person. Like, I've been covering him on the sideline for multiple years. Obviously, last year was a little different because of everything that was going on. But, that first year he was here, you could just feel that energy he brings to the sideline. And you felt that again today, especially. He was just on a different level. Every play he was making, he was looking to his sideline. He was doing his little thing. He was like fake dribbling a ball before third. He's just having so much fun playing football again. And I think there's an argument that he's USC's best defender from their defense. He just does so much, and it just makes it look so much worse that he wasn't playing last year because you're just able to do so much with him. And Danton Lynn, when we would ask about him, Eric Gentry to Danton Lynn in the preseason or the offseason, excuse me, we get this smile on his face. Like, there's not a lot of college football players built like Eric Gentry. So, and for a creative guy like Danton Lynn, you have him up on the screen right now. That's a guy who's creative. That's a guy who comes from the NFL where they're super, progressive in terms of, building new defenses and stuff like that. So the fact that you trusted Danton Lynn to get the most out of Eric Gentry and take his game to the new level. And I go back to the quote Gerard said last week on our show, I don't care that, Eric Gentry is 6'6" and 215 pounds. He's the most physical player on this team. And if you had 11 Eric Gentrys on your defense, it'd be a team full of killers because that's the kind of mentality he plays with. And just watching him play football, like, he is all over the place this year and he's just having fun again. And he's given this defense a real edge, and he feels like kind of like the talisman for this team. If he's playing well, this defense is on another level.
Totally agree. I think Kamari Ramsey is maybe the most NFL ready out of this defense. I thought it might be Bear Alexander heading into the season. It looks like it's still developing a little bit, but Eric Gentry, I mean, it's only been 2 games, but to go from last season where it's like, okay, I don't even know what position this guy is. Never mind even thinking about the NFL. Now it's like, okay, this guy, he looks like an NFL prospect, and he looks like a guy who I think could be drafted in like a 3rd or 4th round in the spring. Like, that level of talent and just to what you said, Chris, about his versatility, his transformation, the whole defense has been impressive. But Eric Gentry, he's sort of been the poster boy for it all. Last season, it was bad, and he would still make some plays here and there. But you're right. There were games where the staff, for whatever reason, just didn't trust him. He didn't play a whole lot. And he's playing more now. He certainly took the audition as a starter against Utah State and ran with it after not starting against LSU. But he's still was second in the team in tackles, I think, against LSU after only playing 29 snaps. This defense suits him so well, and he said so back in August during fall camp. He said the coaches have made a huge difference, and Matt Entz is a big reason why. He's a player who isn't just solid, he's like a game changer. So I totally agree with what you're saying, and he's been maybe the biggest beneficiary of this new defensive staff. It's been awesome to see.
For real, for real.
Yeah, we had some shout-outs for
As he loves to say.
Entz in the chat. Yeah, I think that's a big deal. And to the point of what, D'Anton Lynn's probably going to get like a head coaching kind of gig after this season, and Entz would be a good replacement. For him, he does want to be a higher level head coach. 1 year as a linebacker coach at the Power 4 level might not be enough. So I mean, maybe he takes the DC job, and
if it's not him, you got Doug Belk, who's been at DC before.
yeah. So I think there's some options.
options.
When you hire like really good people for stuff, like if one of them leaves, you have other good people. That it's USC's not used to doing that.
Have I
kind
heard
of
you
stuff.
say that before?
I don't know. I could say that all the time because USC never would do that.
You're freaking out USC fans. Like, they don't want D'Anton to leave.
I know.
It's
but-
like, never leave.
No,
I don't. It's fun to watch the like last night. I'm like, okay, offense made a mistake. Lake McCree fumbled. Oh,
Like, whatever. Get the offense out the field. Let's see what this defense
Like,
can
are you
do.
kidding me? Last year you watched it like it was like a car crash. You couldn't look away because it was so bad. This year it's fun to watch. Like, they're so good. It's crazy.
Yeah, I did want to talk about the offense a little bit because it wasn't perfect. No, pretty balanced, right? Like was it 540 something, 44 yards or whatever it was?
Pretty good.
Pretty good balance on both sides. 14 different dudes caught passes, 8 tight end catches in the game. I think double-digit guys were targeted more than once. So like it spread around a lot. So if you were like, hey, I want to see Zachariah Branch go for 1,000 yards, like that doesn't look like this is happening. It's like this is just spread it around. Miller Moss seems to like throwing to tight ends, but there were some drops. At one point it was mostly like it seemed like guys were dropping back in the coverage, trying to take away some of the deep balls. That flea flicker looked like it worked well, and it looked like Mekhi Lemon was open and then kind of got closed down on. But I think USC did a good job of just sort of taking what was there. Having 2 short field goals, not ideal. Inside the 5-yard line, you're not able to punch it in. But it seemed like 3rd and 6, they could just hand it off and pick up the first down. I thought they did a really nice job of that. But maybe not quite everyone on the same page in the passing game. Having Jacoby Lane drop a touchdown, Zachariah Branch sort of didn't secure it on a screen pass where he could have just walked in to the end zone. A couple passes hit Deuce Robinson, hands-ish, maybe a little high, whatever. But just it did. You don't want to nitpick because the offense did almost anything it wanted, but it didn't seem quite as clean maybe as like on the defensive side. Everything seemed pretty clean. I don't know if you guys felt the same way.
I did, and to your point, Ryan, like you don't want to nitpick a 48-0 game, but to me, like the bigger takeaway, I feel like if USC does go on to lose a game or two, like it's kind of funny to say, but I feel like it'll be the offense needing to score and they won't be able to, whereas I feel a lot better about the defense needing to get a big stop at the end of a game than I do about the offense needing to get a score. But, hey, against LSU, they needed to get a score, and they did it. So it's not like I feel bad about it. But you've seen some little cracks here and there with some penalties on offense, some of the receivers having some drops. Overall, it's been awesome for sure, winning these 2 games. But there have been more little issues, I think, offensively. Not that they've been big, but if they do go on to lose, my prediction would be, okay, not that the game comes down to so much. It's not just the offense lost it or the defense lost it, but my prediction would be that, okay, the offense probably left some plays on the table, and that's why you lost. I feel more confident about the defense. Whoever would have thought that?
Yeah, I think it's kind of just growing pains.
Yeah.
Because, I know that group is so heralded between Mekhi Lemon, Jacoby Lane, Deuce Robinson, and Zachariah Branch, but they're all sophomores. They're true sophomores, and most of them did not play a lot last season outside of Zachariah Branch. I mean, Mekhi Lemon had 1-2 receptions.
Played more defensive back.
Yeah, had more snaps of defensive than a wide receiver. So, and I know they balled out in the Holiday Bowl, but that's one game. You need multiple games of game time reps to build that chemistry. And Miller Moss is also showing growing pains as well because he's taking over as a starter. This is his first Coliseum start. This is only his 3rd start overall. And you're still building that chemistry with these wide receivers. I know you had all, spring and summer, PRPs, what have you, but there's nothing like actual game reps and finding those receivers in big moments. When the game, you need this first down, or you need to score here, or you need to get in the red zone here. So you're just building those little building blocks to a great connection between wide receiver and quarterback. And I'm not saying he doesn't trust them, but you got to keep building trust. He spoke about Lake McCree and how much he trusts him. That's why we're seeing Lake McCree, have a hot start to this season. And who was the guy USC was able to depend on tonight? Not in the passing game, but on offense. Woody Marks, that veteran guy. So I just think we're just seeing some growing pains between, this passing offense, especially just with how young they are at wide receiver. But, man, think about what this group could look like by the end of the season when they're kind of clicking and all on the same page. They're going to make plays, but, they just need to find more consistency.
And you know who hasn't looked young, even though he is a veteran, but he hasn't played a lot? It's Miller Moss, who's the guy who's sort of kept it all together when Alani Noah has a bad false start against LSU in a bad position, and it looks like USC might be in trouble. It's Miller Moss that makes a great throw to Kyron Hudson, and a couple drops against Utah State. Miller Moss doesn't care. He'll hand it off, and USC goes on and wins 48-0. I think the fact that he looks so mature and so poised and honestly better than I expected this season, that's helped with this offense that's in a transitional period. And I'm blown away by the defense, but Miller Moss's play, even though he didn't really have to do a whole lot against Utah State, probably should have thrown 3 touchdowns, but 2 of his receivers dropped some passes there.
Yeah.
I just continue to be really impressed with him, and I think that's a credit to Lincoln Riley, of course, but Moss deserves so much credit, too, for sticking around and beating 2 ranked teams in his 2 first starts and not making it look easy, but just looking like he belonged. And I thought there might be some moments like, okay, is Moss like how good is Moss? And we kind of know like he's a guy. He's a real guy, and he's showing it consistently. You mentioned the Holiday Bowl, Chris. It's not just one game. Moss had the one big game, and now he's continuing to show it. Defense is good, and I think you have a damn good quarterback too. That's a good mix.
Yeah, I think he doesn't put the ball in harm's way, and he did a little bit in the Holiday Bowl and bounced back well. He seems to be someone that if he does make a mistake,
next play,
he learns from it, and he's not going to do it again, which is, that's a positive. He's put some balls in some tight windows, even that the targeting Kyron Hudson, no more where, Kyron Hudson catch. That was over one defender and in front of another one. And I think it was the Woody Marks one he threw.
Three defenders.
Yeah.
One wasn't looking, but I don't know how he got that ball there. And it wasn't a great ball. It had a little wobble to it. I actually got a great shot of it on my field level highlights, which I put up a couple hours ago.
Yeah.
Quick plug. So go check those out. I got a great shot of it, and you're like, put it right in the middle there. So yeah, great throw.
So he can make some of those throws. It seems like he's making good decisions, and it's finding tight ends. He feels pretty comfortable with Lake McCree that maybe a couple of those guys are covered, and Lake McCree seems to be running sort of wide open. We've seen him twice take shots on offensive, on free plays. One was that touchdown to Jacoby Lane against LSU. Last night it was an interception. I think, was that one intended for Lake McCree? Was it that hit him off the hands, or it hit somebody off the hands? And it was intercepted, but then it was
that was a free play.
That was a free play, yeah. So
take a little risk,
but smart, took a chance there, and hit a receiver in the hands there. But he seems to be like he's not only going to just be the game manager guy that's not going to screw it up for you, but he's also capable of making the big plays, which that's showing a lot of growth. Like, not maybe he'll put the ball in harm's way at some point, but so far he seemed to be taking care of the football, but also having like high ceiling kind of plays.
I feel like the proper term for him and what he's rated in college football, the football game, is field general.
Yeah.
That I know game manager is kind of like feels like an insulting term, but field general is what he is. He's a leader on the sideline, leader in the huddle, doesn't have the biggest arm, not the most mobile, but he's accurate and he'll make plays when the team needs him to make plays, which is he's done. Obviously in that LSU with that big drive. I think Miller Moss is just a gamer. When the moment's on and the team needs him, he steps up and he becomes, and he takes it to another level in terms of his playmaking.
I'm excited to see what Wink Martindale, the Michigan DC, didn't look great against Texas, but what he dials up against USC. That play calling matchup, Martindale and Lincoln Riley. We got 2 weeks to talk about it now. That's going to be really, really fun, and that's a big test for Miller. That defensive coordinator, he did really well against Blake Baker, the LSU defensive coordinator who did so well at Missouri last season, and now he'll go up against Wink Martindale, a great defensive coordinator at Michigan with his NFL background. Like, if you do well in this game, NFL scouts, they've already noticed, but you pair up that LSU game with a big game against Michigan on the road, and let's see what happens with him.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't ask for a better start to your career for Miller Moss as far as your first 2 games. You haven't played at home. You played ranked teams, played extremely well in both of those. Handle business in this blowout of Utah State. So good stuff for Miller Moss and this offense. We have some questions in the chat. Is there anything else you guys wanted to discuss about the game before we kind of...
Well, I was just going to note Wink Martindale and Danton Lynn influence. Danton Lynn is influenced by Wink Martindale, so excited to see just more added to that matchup.
Yeah.
These two guys,
Yeah.
gonna probably talk pregame. Yeah, old school against new school. A guy who's taken his defense and made it his own.
Yeah, good stuff there. If you're a USC fan,
Pretty good.
Enjoy it.
Yeah.
Enjoy. We did a lot of these shows last year where they did what? They gave up this many points in the fourth quarter. They never got a stop. Yeah, we did a lot of those. And that's not happening as much this year. So
can I make one quick note?
Of course.
Just wanted to shout out to USC's young running backs, because the running backs obviously played really, really well. 249 rushing yards, which that's a great number, but that was a number we all expected. I mean, Utah State was one of the worst run defense in the Mountain West last year. I know it's a new defense, but you were expecting USC to run the ball on them, and they did. And Quentin Joyner had some nice runs. Brian Jackson got his first carries of his career, showed why he's so slippery. And then, obviously, although Cade Eldridge did carry him to that first down on that one run. And then Marion Peterson, who, Brian Jackson seems to have eaten into his potential as that number 3, but just having a hard-earned run for that touchdown and getting so much love from his teammates. I know that they were really excited for AP to finally get in the end zone. So they look good. I know they were going against the Utah State defense, but just to see them get some confidence across the board between Quentin Joyner, Brian Jackson getting some touches, and then AP getting his first touchdown. All good news. And then I did want to shout out to Michael Lance on the kickoff. 8 touchbacks of 9 kickoffs. USC, I'm going to keep hitting this, but they were god-awful at touchbacks last year. 29%, number 110 in the country.
Really?
They're hitting 80% on touchbacks this year. That's an incredible jump, and it really changes your whole special teams on kickoff, because how many times have we seen them get a good score,
and then oops,
it's a 45-yard, and then bang. So just to be able to kill a kickoff immediately with a touchback is just it's invaluable for a team. So just want to shout out Michael Lance. 8 touchbacks. It was 9 kickoffs last night, and 80% on the season for touchback percentage. Heck of a turnaround this season so far.
Yeah, special teams I think have done a great job. The one blunder, the one missed field goal, but besides that, I think they've done a really good job. They only had to punt once last night, and it was a short field, 35-yarder inside the 20. So, I thought they did a really nice job of that. If you're watching live in the chat, we have over 300, I think it was 325 people or something watching live. Thank you so much for that. We appreciate it. And smash the like button. Subscribe. If you're not subscribed to the channel, do that. And if you're not subscribed to USCfootball.com, I think we have a day or so left of the 60% off sale. It was basically, we put it in there for USC beating LSU. Don't miss it. You're going to love it. We're going to get to some questions. If you have a question, just put it in the chat, and I will do my best to pull it up and answer it. I'll put a little star next to it and come to it when we get to it. Jasper had a question.
For Chris.
Yeah. Well, for the most recent linebacker commit, Ty Jackson play middle linebacker or outside linebacker?
Good question. I can't really say for sure. I would say he's built more for that will linebacker spot.
That's what I was going to say.
So, 6'1", 200 pounds, kind of Elijah Newby-esque. Elijah Newby's a little bit bigger, but he's playing the will as well. Really athletic. So I would feel like he's going to play that will linebacker spot. I don't know how much he rushes in high school. I have to watch the tape a little bit more, but pretty good athlete. He also played on offense, so he has that kind of football feel for the game. So I would say kind of a will linebacker at this point.
All right. Blackie Chan, do you think USC being ranked at 11 is appropriate after seeing Penn State and Oregon struggling? I don't. I feel like USC should be a top 10 team right now. I think pollsters sort of get an idea of what they're going to be in the beginning, but now you've seen them play. And do you really think Penn State's better than USC now? They have a pretty good win there, but they couldn't hang with Bowling Green and almost lost that game. So I would, especially early in the season, move rankings around a little bit. But I think a lot of the pollsters just keep them where they are unless they lose. So you're only moving up if you like beat somebody really good or somebody loses in front of you. So I would have moved it around a little bit and see, Oregon's dropped, but I would probably drop them even further, and Penn State as well, just for almost losing to Bowling Green. I don't know what you guys think.
I just think this early in the season, just keep winning. It'll take care of itself. That's sort of always been how I approach it.
Yeah, that's coach speak. I love it. Logan had a question. Did Elijah Hughes get any snaps?
Yes.
I don't have the exact number of snaps, but I definitely saw him. I'll stall just enough for you. I almost called you shotgun.
Played 11 snaps.
11 snaps.
At defensive tackle.
Defensive tackle.
Nice.
What was his grade?
63.8. Didn't really do much. Oh, he got a tackle.
And a tackle.
Angelo has a question.
Angelo.
I think we had some common ones along. Is this the best defense since 2008? I know 2013 had a good defense, but they had a few clunkers like the games against ASU and UCLA.
This is a Ryan question.
Yeah.
I mean, this is 2 games in, so I'm not going to compare it to any of those. There could be clunkers as well, but
don't you just think they're not going to have many clunkers? Like,
yeah,
you know what I mean? I feel really good about them. Like, they're so well coached. They're in the right spots. If they just get out executed, I feel like on the next drive they'll make an adjustment. It's not like they're playing a Washington from last year or an Oregon from last year where it's just these explosive offenses and they're going to put USC in bad spots. I think things are setting up nice for them. I don't really expect many clunkers.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, but if they can keep doing this and you're getting like Michigan scores like 24 or something and Notre Dame scores 21 and they're just not giving up the 40, 50 burgers like they were before, that's pretty impressive because Lincoln Riley's going to score points, You're going to be in those games if you're not allowing 38 to, Wisconsin or whatever.
Are they going to get to 20 points? This past weekend, both those teams had absolute tractor pulls on offense.
They were, yeah.
If you couldn't tell, I've totally changed my tune.
Yeah. Steven, did the lights ever come back on?
Yes.
For the most part. They were popping in, and people were like mock cheering when they were. Alex, will Mason be back? Mason Cobb.
I imagine after a bye week that he would be back. He was on the sideline, didn't see any, or you were closer, but did you see any like knee brace or anything? It seemed like he was just in street clothes.
I mean, he came on our show Thursday.
Yeah.
Didn't say he wasn't going to play, but it sounded like he could.
Well, Jalen Smith, like in an emergency, Jalen Smith probably could have played. But
yeah. I think if USC was playing Michigan last night, Cobb probably plays, right?
He at least suits up.
Yeah.
Does he play? I don't know. If it's like a concussion, yeah, he's probably not playing. But I haven't heard what the exact injury is. The fact he wasn't limping, he didn't have any brace or anything on, so maybe he is in concussion protocol. I'll have to kind of check with Lincoln Riley on that one. But yeah, I would assume he's going to be ready for Michigan. You don't need him this week. Get him the extra week of rest, and yeah, I would expect him to be back for the Big House.
Anthony, did Davis get snaps at linebacker? He did. I have a picture.
It's Rajon Davis.
Rajon Davis. There's a picture of him as a part of a tackle with Zion Branch. So
only 5 snaps for him.
Okay.
I think he played on special teams too.
Yes.
But 5 defensive snaps.
Hector wanted to know, let's see, how dope was it? I don't know if you want to do a dope scale of like 1 to 10. How dope was it seeing 2 tight ends in the game? They do that a lot.
As a former tight end, I think that's pretty high on the dope scale. And then as someone who maybe bought up every piece of tight end stock over the last 5 years, pretty dope.
Yeah. Michael says you guys, you noticed that we're running 12 personnel quite a bit too. Yeah, yes. Very, very dope. What's your dope scale? Is the movie Friday is like a really high one, and then
what's the least dope to the most dope?
Yeah.
Oh,
you'd be good at this, Chris.
Me? Okay, you're really putting me on the spot.
Yeah, you love live shows.
Maybe least dope is having to go to the DMV, wait in the DMV line, and then most dope, I don't know, hanging out with Snoop Dogg.
Yeah.
Behind the DJ booth. That's probably the top of the dopeness on this little scale I just made up.
Okay.
So I would say it's pretty close to there.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say it's all the way, with Snoop Dogg. Maybe a 7.5.
Snoop adjacent.
8. It's Snoop adjacent. You can see him over the ridge on the dope scale. So
you're hanging out with Martha Stewart, but she's telling you about Snoop
Sure.
Dogg. Okay.
Yeah.
I like that.
Martha Stewart went to prison, so she's got some street cred. That's pretty dope.
Along those lines, Mastermind, he's got a cool looking avatar. When did our tight ends become big bullies? It's cool to see him involved in the passing game, but I mean, Lake McCree had that pancake block on Woody Marks' first touchdown. What do you think about the bullies?
Is that just the strength and conditioning program? Is that what it is? Because I don't know. Eldridge was on the roster last year. McCree was on the roster last year. They didn't seem like the bullies that they are now. I just wonder if they bulked up a little bit, and I think confidence too. Maybe they have a little bit more confidence. And Miller Moss, McCree said, likes to use the tight ends more. So put that all together, and you get some bullies out there.
Yeah, I mean, when Riley took over, the tight end room was weird. It was a hodgepodge of guys, and they weren't good blockers, and there's a lot of injuries in that room. So they kind of had to start from the ground up, building around Lake McCree, and they've recruited really well, bringing in guys. You got Carson, who's banged up. He's not a great point to start at, but you got Cade Eldridge. You got I'm blanking on Walker Lyons. You got
3 catches.
Joey Olsen, Walter Matthews, and you got a bunch of different body types, and they're all big, and they just have invested with Zach Hansen, who is a former offensive tackle, so he knows how to block. He knows the art of blocking, and so they've been really hammering that the last several years, and Cade Eldridge has really emerged as kind of their go-to blocker. He's put on a lot of weight, and remember, he's a guy who did not block a lot in high school. He played running back. So he was mainly carrying the ball and running over people, not running over people. And, Zach Hansen said this offseason, Cade is really, taken to blocking this past offseason, and you've really seen him emerge. So it takes a little time because a lot of these tight ends are mainly wide receivers in high school. They're not blocking a whole lot. They're just, big jumbo receivers. Joey Olsen was a big jumbo receiver in high school. Walker Lyons was more of a traditional inline. He did a lot more blocking than your traditional tight end, so I think that's why he's a little bit further ahead than Joey. But, yeah, they sometimes just got to grow at it, and it seems like that investment of blocking and bringing in these different body types is starting to pay off with this season.
We got to give a little shout-out. I didn't see this earlier. We got a super chat. From Mr. Andrew. USC was tackling. I was watching and crying.
Don't blame them. It's fun to watch this defense. They do tackle really well. Amazing. Let me look at the missed tackle numbers here. I don't think there were.
Is it enough to buy Jack a drink?
$2?
$2 shot? You get a $2 shot, right? Somewhere. Okay.
Not anywhere.
College Park,
here.
Maryland. I'll tell you that.
5 missed tackles against
5 missed tackles?
Utah State. After having 8, I think, against LSU. Pretty good.
How many missed tackles did they miss in their second game last season?
The second quarter of the second game.
Let's see.
Crazy. The good thing is we got some road trips coming up. There's some cheap drinks on some of the road trips. So I think we could use the $2 to buy Jack a drink somewhere. I remember way back, I guess it was 2000, I forget, 5 or 6 or somewhere in that range, in the mid-aughts. USC went to Arkansas, and Trey Biddy, who run the Arkansas site for Rivals back then, he crushes it. They do a great job. Their team's terrible, and he just crushes it. Maybe they won. I don't know if they won this weekend, but they've struggled and stuff.
They lost.
Did they lose?
Yeah, they lost in overtime.
They let that one slip away. They were at 21-7.
Trey's great, though. And I remember going, and he told me this dive bar to go to. And me and a couple of friends of mine, we go to the bar, and I think we ordered Miller Lights, and I believe even for this is like 18 years ago or something, whatever it was. I think the Miller Lights were 50 or 75 cents. And so my friend and I look at each other like, okay, so they're free. So there's free beer. This is great. You know, it's like, because even LA at the time it was still $7 a beer. So you were like, it was like 10 times better. So I remember that. So we could get Jack something somewhere. Maybe Minnesota, maybe Maryland. You probably know some spots.
I just want to shout out. Well, not shout out. That's the wrong phrase. But a lot of people have been asking me, Ryan, where are we meeting in Michigan? I've had multiple people. When is the meetup? When is the meetup? We don't know, and we're looking for a place. So if someone locally knows a spot for a meetup on Friday, let us know. And by let us know, I mean let Ryan know.
Yeah, because I have to do the organization stuff. All right. Yeah, but we'd love to. We're going to do something, and we'll let you guys know when we figure it out. Derek had a question. Who, in your opinion, is the biggest game on our toughest game on our schedule?
Let me pull up the schedule here.
I mean, Michigan just for on the road.
First ever, Big Ten conference game.
Iconic venue.
Defending national champion.
I know they're not
Yes.
great right now. They have a lot of question marks, but just still being in that big environment will be tough. Penn State is going to be interesting. They're coming cross country, so you do have that advantage.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'm ranking it probably Michigan, Penn State, and then
Nebraska might be up there.
Nebraska, I think, is creeping up there as like a sneaky tough game. Notre Dame, I wrote this at the beginning of the year, like we have no idea what Notre Dame is going to look like. They could be like a 7-5 team, or they could be on the verge of the playoff. We have no idea. They'll probably be in the top 5 of toughest remaining schedules just for the sake of it. But
yeah,
Nebraska looks much tougher than anticipated. But I would say Michigan, Penn State are the two toughest.
Yeah.
I think you have to say those two because Michigan on the road and then Penn State, they've just recruited well these past few years. They have the quarterback, at least they think they do. He's been better than he was last year, Drew Aller. So on paper, experienced quarterback, good defense travels. It's not going to be easy, but it's not like they look very good against Bowling Green. So I thought LSU was maybe going to be the toughest on the schedule, and that didn't age very well because Nichols,
it could be.
Nichols State or whatever the heck they were playing.
Nichols, yeah. It could be.
They were just squeaking by them. So.
It's tough to beat teams on the road in college football.
Yeah.
So
and some of the tougher games, you got to come to the Coliseum. Like even Rutgers could be pretty good. They're playing 11 p.m. their time in the Coliseum on a Friday night. Like that's just I'm gonna not give them much of a chance on that one.
But they're scrappy.
Scrappy for sure. Yeah. Kevin Morris, finish the sentence. This is the most complete USC team since. I mean,
Ryan, question for you.
Yeah, I don't. I mean, it's 2 games, so there's not complete yet, so we don't know. But as far as like being good on both sides of the ball, it would be. I think I would go back to some of the Carroll teams, like the Rose Bowl team of 2016 got blown out by Alabama. Like they had some good stuff, but it was mostly like Sam Darnold.
I'm trying to remember what their defense was like because that's like the best USC team I've covered in my time covering this beat.
The 2016 team.
The 20 the other.
Yeah, they wouldn't.
The 16 team.
They wouldn't hold up with the 7 straight BCS bowl game teams that Carroll had. Those kind of went. Some of those defenses were really, really good, and they were holding teams like single-digit stuff like multiple weeks.
Oh, I forgot they beat Oregon that year.
Yeah, crazy.
And then, I mean, they weren't terrible on defense. I mean,
they gave up like 50-something to Alabama. They gave up 49 to Penn State, right, in the bowl game.
Yeah.
But that was like Saquon Barkley and.
They started 1-3, so
yeah,
it's like, and then they just got hot. They got hot. That's the best team I've covered, so I can't really answer this question.
All right.
Entirely, but I don't know. 2016 was a fun team.
It definitely was
they had
fun
moments.
After.
Yeah. I think their best performance was obviously that Washington game where they just went in and held them to 13 points in Husky Stadium.
Yeah, that was a
playoff team. So
it was a playoff team. Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know. I would maybe argue 2016, but Ryan obviously has more more teams to compare this one to in terms of completeness.
Andrew, this is for you, Chris. This middle linebacker that committed today, is he legit committed, or is it a leverage play like those 5-star guys a month or so back?
I wouldn't say this was a leverage play like the 5-star guys a couple months back. I mean, we'll obviously talk more about it on composite 2-star recruits, but this was a big commitment, and I'm not sure how much NIL-based this prospect is, but I would just say feel good about the commitment. It's a big commitment, big linebacker.
All right.
Coach Eric Henderson, dog work.
42 cups of tea. That's a lot. I drink a lot of tea, but maybe not 42 cups. I guess maybe over 42 days I would. Usually a couple-day person. But the question is, if they had to stop the game due to the lights issue, would the game still count as an official win for USC?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, in the fourth quarter like that, when it was 41-0 or whatever it was. But Lincoln Riley didn't want it to end because he wanted to get more reps for the guys and everything.
It's valuable reps.
Yeah. I don't know what the cutoff is, but like baseball, it's like you have to go 5 innings and then it'll count. Sometimes they could come back and play because they had that one. Was that one player that got traded?
The Red Sox.
It was a Red Sox guy. Yeah, like at the game, they postponed it. He was with the Blue Jays maybe and playing against the Red Sox. They trade him to the Red Sox and they
Vice versa, I think.
They resumed the game, and he played for the same team in the same game, or 2 teams in the same game.
Yeah.
You care about Jensen?
Yeah, Danny Jensen, right?
Yeah, crazy. But this would be like if they got to a certain point. I don't know what the cutoff is. If it's like
I don't know what the rule is.
Yeah.
Here's the rule: if it's 41-0 in the fourth quarter, the lights turn off. Whoever's up 41-0 wins.
Boom, roasted.
I think it's a little bit. Yeah, there's some common sense in there. Craig, I don't know if this is a question, but I'll just read it for you guys. Difference between this year and last year is that last year we needed 50-plus points to win. This year, anything goes.
Yeah, and you needed 50-plus points to win against Cal. I don't think you needed
Who beat
that.
Auburn.
Yeah.
I think Connor's prediction that he's getting crap for about 7-5 makes him more mad about how bad they were last year because the difference, how far they've come, it's like you remember all the stuff that happened last year. It's like they needed 50 points to beat freaking Cal.
Yeah,
it's like, well, now they don't. It's like, well, that's what basing my opinion on, and now they don't. They need 5 points to beat Cal instead of 50.
I think too the fact that last year was my first year, kind of made me pessimistic because it was so bad. So
First year on the circus.
yes.
Yeah.
Have you done an updated record prediction?
I said 9-3, but I mean, hey, they could freaking go undefeated right now.
Yeah.
I'm not making anything officially. I'm done with that.
Yeah, you don't want to go. I think they're going 11-1 now, and then they start losing.
Then they go 7-5,
and they go 7-5. Like, dummy,
Damn
you
it.
should have just stayed. Yeah, then you're screwed both ways.
But I mean,
Double down.
I really don't 3 losses. I might not even see the way they were going. So
Yeah. Anthony, did you guys notice we played a little more press coverage and less off the ball coverage this game? Less dink and dunk passes completed.
well, they could just man up against crappy Utah State. With all due respect to Utah State, they didn't really have to respect them. So makes sense.
Yeah, try out their press coverage. Let them see it. Let
Yeah.
them play it.
Let's let our 4 and 5-star guys go up against your, 2-star junior college guys.
Go have some fun.
yeah.
Play some.
They had what was it? Jalen, what's his name?
Royals.
He was a 1,000-yard
good.
receiver last year. He had some catches. What did he do? He did.
They had 190 yards though in the game.
He had 47 yards, 6 catches. So I mean, he did okay.
Last year he's going for 150.
Oh my
and-
God! Yeah,
and 3 touchdowns.
It wouldn't even be. Yeah, some of the stuff was when you were in the press box talking, and you're like, what would have happened last year? Oh my God, this team would have scored a bunch of points last year on USC.
And they wouldn't have
Do you
killed
think
them
so?
until the start
Weren't
of the
they
fourth.
close to Nevada? Nevada didn't score at all last year. Utah State, new coach, backup quarterback. I don't know. I think they could have outmanned them last year. It certainly looks better, but
Yeah.
they were giving me Nevada vibes. Whereas Nevada, remember in the second half, they completed that long pass, and it was oh, here we they still did a big play. So Utah State maybe could have done that, but I don't think it would have been 49-21. San Jose State beats the crap out of what we saw last night. Last year's San Jose State. I think.
Yeah. Well, they didn't do that well after USC played him either. Nick Nash or whatever his
Well,
name
he
is.
certainly didn't. Yeah.
No, he's careering against USC. I think that's the one. If you just want to have one takeaway, don't let people like that you're never going to hear from again career against you. You know,
Yeah.
Should we just like call it like Grinching?
Never go full
Grinch.
Grinch.
He's Grinching, which means it's
he
a guy you've
Grinched.
never heard of who's having the day of his life.
who is the
The Colorado guy.
yeah 198?
He grinched so hard in that game.
198 yards in the second half. Some no name that you never freaking heard
The
of.
guy from Washington, the running back, he grinched super hard in
Oh
that
god,
game.
they weren't a running team. Like
He grinched an entire facet of their offense.
you had the most prolific passer, outside of maybe Jay Daniels in college football, and they didn't even need to use him. Just run the ball on these guys. Like we don't have to use our Heisman Trophy candidate quarterback. Let's just run all over these dudes.
Bryson Barnes grinched out a little bit.
Oh, completely.
so,
grinched.
like-
I mean, Cam Rising, like he grinched, but he's been good in other games.
He's been
but-
good again.
but he grinched the heck out
He
of
grinched
USC.
so hard
Yeah,
in that game.
There was like he could do no wrong. Like it would just be like, 4th and 14.
Did
He picks it up with his legs.
Did Dorian Singer grinch? Was that a grinching?
He did.
'Cause that was a breakout season for him, and
What did
he
he have?
got 3 touchdowns.
He
or
had 3
something like that.
touchdowns against USC, and he ends up he transfers it. Like he grinched
A double
and then,
Grinch.
and then they pick him up.
And then he's
And he
not
stunk.
good.
Yeah.
So that's a double Grinch.
The Colorado receiver, Omarion Miller,
Yeah,
0 receptions this season.
this season, and he's still there. That's impressive.
Still there. Everyone on Twitter saying he's going to transfer. He's not playing at all. He's not playing at all. Last year, let me find the
I'm pretty proud of that Grinching as a
7 for 196 and a touchdown.
Has Singer done anything?
196. He grinched that hard. Oh my god.
Well,
Did Singer do anything at Utah? He's at Utah, right?
yeah, let me see.
Yeah,
They,
is that
they had
Utah?
Cam Rising get hurt. So Utah was up like 23-0. Rising gets hurt, and then they don't score again. I don't think so.
Not much, 5 for 43. But their backup quarterback is Zach Wilson's brother, and he looks like Zach Wilson, not very good. So
Oh,
that
okay.
hasn't helped.
They could still use the pig farmer. That's
Oh,
what you're saying.
yeah. I'm sure he's like, after last night, like, oh, damn, I should have stuck around.
Yeah. Derek says, Ryan, can you write me up an excuse to watch the USC versus Michigan game while I'm at a wedding? Thanks. P.S. If my wife beats me, send some help. Yeah.
Bloody nose.
Fall weddings,
Bloody
man.
nose.
Fall weddings.
Go out.
Here's the thing. Maybe it's not really a thing anymore. Just like, hey, I took a test, got COVID, can't go. I
Damn.
don't want to get anyone sick. I'm thinking of everybody else.
What he hasn't said is it's his wedding.
Yeah, those are always good. Segar says, "Have you guys been to Coliseum?"
Oh,
COSM
I
yet?
was. This is so weird. I was literally just gonna like throw this out there to Ryan. Like, this feels like a big Ryan thing.
They reached out to me. They're like, "Hey, you want to do an event there?" And I'm like, "Well, I'm at the games all the time. I can't do it." But they sent me some of the videos, and I didn't realize like Colin Cowherd tweeted from there. It looks pretty badass.
I saw the people watching the Michigan Texas game. It was
They
like
were
a
watching it
YouTube.
there?
It was YouTube short or TikTok, or I think I saw it on Twitter actually. And it took me like so long to realize it
weren't-
wasn't at the game.
They were just
Yeah, they were just at this place with this like cool surround sound thing. I was like, wait, what? Like my brain wasn't computing that they were not literally at the game. Have you seen that?
No.
So if you don't know, I don't have a picture of it to put up, but if it's over near SoFi, and it's like kind of like a bar restaurant thing. So, but the seats are like you're in a stadium. So it would be, I think there's like a corner. So there's like, just picture like the corner of a stadium, but there's no rest of the stadium. There's just like a corner of it, or an arena most likely. And then there's massive screen in front of you. And then when they're showing the game, but it looks like you're filling in the like where you are in the corner of the stadium is like the rest of you see the whole stadium in front of you, and they can move the angles and stuff. So it's like you're sitting on the sidelines watching a basketball game or a football game and stuff. I was amazed by it. It looks pretty
Wow,
cool.
that does look cool. Chris is showing me right now.
Yeah, kind of along the lines of like the Sphere, like it's like an immersive experience, so you can order drinks.
It's like
and food.
VR almost.
Yeah, but you're
without
sitting in a
having-
room that has this cool screen that makes it look like you're sitting with a game on right in front of you. So it looks pretty badass. I didn't talk to Colin about it yet, but they reached out to me and wanted to do something. They're like, hey, you're going to do like an away game event? We could do it here. I'm like, well, I'm at all the games, but I thought I brought. I don't know. We'll try to do something. Maybe we can do something for an away game, and someone that's not traveling, like RJ or Ahmad or something, can help host something there. But it would be cool to watch a game there.
We should do tunnel vision in the Cosmo.
Ooh, we could do that. That would be.
No one wants to feel like they're in the studio watching this.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. Well, cool stuff. Yeah, we went a little bit over an hour. Been talking a lot. This is my third show today. Got one tomorrow morning. Podcast of Champions plug. Make sure you check it out. I went 9-3 on my picks against the spread, baby.
I went 3-0 this week.
3-0. Very
Yeah.
nice. Yeah.
Off the schneid. I hadn't won before then.
It was good.
Hey, Syracuse won.
They did. They made it close.
The
but they
Q's
won.
won.
The
Yeah.
Q's won. Terps didn't. Whatever.
Well, good
Whatever.
stuff. So it's a bye week. What are you guys doing? Connor and I will probably do a show Wednesday, I think still. Chris, you doing what are your shows? Helium
On
Two-star.
Monday. We're at Shotgun. Obviously did not cover this game. Didn't do instant. Didn't do this. So he's going to have
People are asking about him.
he's gonna have a
some
lot
thoughts.
to talk
Oh,
about.
he does like to talk.
He's going to have like 900 stocks.
Okay.
And then it's already been a big start to the week recruiting-wise with the Ty Jackson commitment. And there's some murmurs about others in the works.
Ooh.
I thought maybe I was going to have to do a commitment during the show.
Oh, okay.
But so just be on the lookout. So 2 stars going to be hopping this week. So catch that. And then, yeah.
We got a 2-star voicemail loaded for you already.
Is it Eddie from Orange?
It's Eddie from Orange, yeah.
How did I know?
He left us a
How
voicemail
did
too,
I know?
Connor, while he was jogging. So
Oh, very nice.
we'll get to that later on. But yeah, probably no other, like Connor and I will do a live show on Wednesday, but probably no more of those since we're not doing a preview or recap or anything. So you guys can enjoy the bye week.
Enjoy
Yeah,
some stress-free football viewing.
Yeah, Alabama's going to Wisconsin. So if you want to see Alex Grinch involved in a bludgeoning, that's not something that's going to make you cry as a USC fan, then maybe that you could watch that one a little bit. Yeah, I think there's some good games in the conference, so go check those out. It wasn't the greatest week for the Big Ten, although it was 4 games in the Big Ten. I think Ohio State was it. Let me see, pull it up real quick. So Ohio State, Minnesota, who played Rhode Island, and USC and Indiana combined. I think it was like 223-3 in those 4 games. So 3 shutouts, and Indiana won 77-3. But some other games were pretty bad. Like Iowa lost. They should not have lost to Iowa State like that. That was not good. The first conference game was Michigan State, Maryland. That was a pretty fun one to watch, but sorry, it didn't go the way you wanted, Chris. But and then Illinois got a big win over Kansas, a ranked team, so that's not bad. But like I said, Penn State struggling with Bowling Green. That wasn't good. Washington 30-9 over Eastern Washington, not great. Good that Nebraska beat up on Colorado, but some not good. Boise should have beat Oregon. Oregon didn't look very good. Of course, Michigan getting clobbered. So some not so great results in the Big Ten too. So we'll see this weekend. The Alabama-Wisconsin one will be pretty fun. Purdue gets a shot at Notre Dame. I do like that the Civil War is this weekend, Oregon State, and Washington State, the Apple Cup. So that'll be kind of fun. And if you're in LA, you want to go to a game, Indiana's coming. You want to see Kirk Cignetti? He's coming to the Rose Bowl to take on UCLA, so that should be good. And Maryland's got Virginia, so DMV battle.
A lot of rivalry games.
Yeah, a lot of good stuff this weekend. Can you tell? I'm kind of into the Big Ten now. I'm learning. I'm like immersing myself in the Big Ten culture, Chris.
Could we call you Big Ten boss man?
No, not yet. But yeah, we do like to joke that we are the foremost experts on Big Ten football, even though we've just been covering it for a couple weeks. But that's what we do. All right, well, let's go wrap things up for Mr. Triple Double, Connor Morrissette. Half the Helium boys, half the 2-star recruits, the whole Chris Trevino with a tilde. I'm Ryan Abraham. Hope you guys enjoyed the show, and we will talk to you next time.